Okay, so now we're going to look at factoring the ax squared plus bx plus c when a does not equal 1. And I think for most students that this is probably the hardest part about factoring, but also it's good to note that you can use this method for any kind of factoring problem. So aside from your sums of cubes, difference of squares. But if you're factoring a trinomial, you can certainly use this method. So what I'm about to show you, I like to call the AC method. Okay. And so what we're going to do here is I'm actually going to switch to a new slide so I have more room, but we're going to start by looking at problem number, okay. And with problem number 7, it says 3x squared plus 14x plus 8. Okay, now with any factoring problem, the first thing you always want to do is to look for a GCF, okay, or a greatest common factor. So I always do that no matter what kind of problem I'm working on. In this case, there is no greatest common factor. So I now have to think about what does A equal? So here A would be 3, B would be 14, and C would be 8. Okay. So what the AC method says is the first thing that you want to do here is to multiply A times C. So in this case, that's 3 times 8, which equals 24. Okay. So that's step 1. Okay. Step 2 is to think about what multiplies to AC, but adds to B. Okay. So in this case, what multiplies to 24, but adds to 14? Okay. So that's step 2. So again, I'm going to start looking at my multiples for 24 first. Okay, so when you think about the number 24, I think about 6 times 4. Okay, that's 1. 12 times 2. And as you're working through these, go, can I add these together in such a way to get 14? 6 and 4, no you can't. But 12 and 2, yes you can. Okay, so now step 3 in all of this is to rewrite our problem. And the way that I rewrite that is I'm going to take this 12 and this 2 here, right here, and I am going to rewrite this, but I'm going to change my middle term up here, and I'm going to use the 12 and the 2. So you're basically taking that middle term and you're splitting it up into 2 other terms. So let me demonstrate that for you. So rewrite it, and you have 3x squared. But now I'm going to write it as plus 12x plus 2x. So you can see here that that gives you your 14x that you originally had, okay? And then plus 8. Once you get a problem to this point, the next thing that we have to do is to factor by grouping. Okay, so step 4, I'll circle these steps here. So we have step 1, 2, 3. Now we're on step 4. Okay, and when I factor by grouping, you're taking this and you're splitting it into 2 groups. So I'm going to rewrite it as 3x squared plus 12x, and then plus 2x plus 8, okay? And now your next step is to factor out the greatest common factor from each group. So in the first, I can pull out a 3x. So I'm going to say a 3x on the outside. And what does that leave me with on the inside? Well, I'll have x plus 4, okay? And then pull out your greatest common factor from the second group. So I'm going to pull out a 2, and that'll leave me with x plus 4. Then what you want to do is to pull out your greatest common factor one more time. So here we can see that I have an x plus 4 here and an x plus 4 here. So I'm going to now factor that out. So now I'm going to have an x plus 4 that I'm factoring out of each, and then you multiply by what's left, 3x plus 2. So that is your answer for that particular problem using the AC method. Let's try one more problem here. Let's look at number 35. Okay, so 35 is 10x squared minus 27x plus 5. So my first step here, I'm going to define that A is 10, B is a negative 27, and C is 5. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use my AC method, multiply A and C, and I get 50. Okay. Now think about 50. What do we have for multiples of 50? So I have, well, 25 and 2 comes to mind right away. Can you put 25 and 2 together now to get a negative 27? And the answer is yes. If these were both negative, I could put those together. They would sum together to give me my negative 27 up here. So that's your next step now, is to rewrite the problem, splitting this middle term of negative 27 into a minus 25x minus 2x. Okay, so that's how I will rewrite it. So I have 10x squared minus 25x minus 2x plus 5. Okay, and now I have to factor by grouping. Okay, now with this one, you have to be really careful and you have to watch your signs. So usually the first group is not a problem. Okay. So there's my first group. Now you notice here I have a negative right here. But if I put a parenthesis here, you need to think about, okay, a negative, that means this has to be negative. Why? Because a negative gives me my positive right here. Okay. And another way to remember that is that you'll notice that the signs in each group right here are the same. Okay, that's how you know you're on the right track. They have to be the same if this is to work. Okay, so now pull out your greatest common factor within each group. So in my first group, I'm going to pull out a 5x. And that's going to leave me with a 2x minus 5. In my second grouping, I don't really have a common factor. So pretty much the only thing that we can pull out here is a 1. So that's all I'm going to do. And then I'm going to write 2x minus 5. And then you can see here again that we have greatest common factor. So you want to pull that out one more time. So now you can pull out a 2x minus 5. And what you have left, you multiply that and you have a 5x minus 1. Okay, these videos tend to be a little bit longer because the problems are just a little bit more complicated. So I do have a couple more, but I'm going to post that on a separate slide for you. So that'll be part 2.